Following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
Greetings, Earthling. His Highness the Jackal.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Latino, I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you good.
The Jackal.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head, right here live on PSN Radio, SoFlo Radio, and PSN-TV. Thank you all for sticking around with me and welcoming my friend, my guest, a legend, an icon, and somebody who I envy because he has more hair than God gave me, and I'm much younger. And I hate you for that, Mike. But God love you, man. Thank you for being here so much and spending the next hour with me on the show.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, the reason I got all this hair is because I just can't afford to go to a barber. Yeah.
I thought you were trying to like wish away the need of having like a rug put on your head or like plugs or something, because you're like wishing it away. You're like, please don't leave, please don't leave.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going anywhere. My grandmother had hair. In fact, she died when she was 94, and she had the full head of hair, dark hair.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
I was saying that we were joking around earlier, and I was like, you have this great, hair that I wish I had, and you're like, yeah, but your beard is dark, and I'm like, yeah, but you can just ferment yours.
Well,
I'm not sorry. I'm not Joe Biden. I'm not going to go by plugs.
There's you, Biden.
Shout out to our man Rush Limbaugh, who left us. He used to call Biden plugs.
Oh, he left? He quit?
No, he passed away. Rush Limbaugh passed. Yeah,
wow.
You didn't hear?
Oh, I don't watch TV. You know that?
Oh, no, I know.
In fact, I deliberately don't have the cable to my TV. I have the internet and all that.
You cut that cable a long time ago, huh? Good man.
Well, I arrange my sleeping so that I can watch the sun come up every morning. And I'm on the second floor here, so.
How's that working out for you?
Well, in ways it's pretty good. I always feel like I'm up in the air, unless I go downstairs. But that's the thing. Here about 2 weeks ago, I took a tumble down my stairs, and I had a little trouble balancing before that, but now I hardly walk.
Really?
Yeah, I spent a day in the emergency room, and the only reason I didn't stay there is because they wanted to fly me to Phoenix for an MRI. I told them. Well, why? Well, because they said their MRI machine was broken.
Wow.
I said, well, I'm not going to Phoenix. I guess I don't know anybody down there. Nobody, I'm not going to sit in a room, and I have family up here. They're not going to go down there,
Right.
I don't want to be down, especially this time of year, for gosh sakes. It's hot down there already.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, isn't most of Arizona warm at this point of year? I mean, we're in the summer, so.
Well, right now, it's still not dark, and I went out the door here a little while ago, and it felt just about perfect.
Oh, really? Yeah, but it's what, like 80, 90 degrees out there right now?
No,
I know you guys, don't have like
not where I live. I'm up in the mountains here.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so it get a little bit colder for you up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, down here in Florida, we unfortunately don't have the option of having a whole lot of mountains, as you know.
Yeah.
And so we get really warm weather, and it's sticky because of the humidity and all that stuff that builds up. So it's not fun. People think it's a whole lot of fun being down here. The weather's nice. Yes, it's cool when it's wintertime and everybody's snowed up and we're like, yeah, it still feels like summer.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. But it's so sticky and moist outside. It's like it's a weird climate down here sometimes. But
yeah.
And it's been really rainy the last few weeks, which is strange.
Well, I wish it would rain here. It hasn't. We didn't even have a monsoon season last year or the year before that.
Oh, no kidding.
3 years ago, we had a little bit of rain. And what I'm hoping this year we'll get a monsoon season. I really hope we do because it's getting pretty bad.
Yeah, you guys definitely need the weather up there to get a little bit better because, I mean, the crops and all that stuff that is in the areas up there, I'm sure that, you
Yeah.
guys need it. Because I'm pretty sure you're not that close to town to just be making local visits to your local, like, supermarket.
Well, it's a fair distance to the supermarket, yeah.
Exactly. And, I mean, where's the nearest mall, if there's even a mall that's open over there?
Let's see. Well, in Pine Top, there's a fair-sized mall. The Safeway's in it. And
Oh,
then
for real?
further down the hill towards Shoalo, there's another mall, but it's not quite as big. But it does have a lot of stuff in it. I guess
okay,
you could
so
say this area has two malls. One is down towards Shoalo, and the other one is in Pine Top.
Gotcha. How's everybody treating the changes going on with the new administration? Have you guys had a flooding yet of like illegals showing up yet?
No, I haven't noticed any changes at all, really, to tell you the truth. Of course, like I say, I don't watch TV.
No,
I
this is true.
spend my time over here on this other big computer to my right. And, usually, doing CGIs or whatever. I do a lot of that. I'm working on actually 3 books right now. I don't know
Yeah,
which
let's
one.
talk about that because I mean,
Okay.
you're an awfully busy guy, and I know that you're getting more and more into like the writing and stuff, and you're a kind of like a do it all yourself type of guy because not only can you write the book, but you could actually illustrate the cover, and I mean,
Yeah.
you can just do the entire thing yourself from A to Z, no
Well,
help from
I
anybody.
illustrated both of Travis's books. Actually, they're one book really. The second book, which was Fire in the Sky, was pretty much just an elongation of the first. Had a lot of stuff in there about Phil Klass, trying to put him down because he was such a-hole. But
I've heard from many that say the same about Phil Glass.
yeah, he would go out of his way to make up stuff. He really would, and because Travis and I were on Larry King Live with him in 1993. In fact, it was the night that the movie opened, which was March 12th.
Mm.
Which just coincident.
It was 94, right? 93, 94?
93.
Yeah, that's 93, yeah.
Yeah, March 12th, 93. And that same night, we were on Larry King Live.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Yeah.
You had a much darker hair back then.
Yeah. Actually, my mustache, my beard started turning white first.
Yeah.
About 15 years ago.
Yep. Now, well, yeah, but that was 93, so we're talking about almost like what?
See, look at my hair. Look at that.
Yeah, I see that.
It's pretty dark.
Stop showing off there, man. Stop showing off.
All right. Well,
you see how he is? He's the realist, and he has that ego to go with it. Look at my hair.
There you go.
You chubby, bald, blind man. Look at my hair. I got you beat.
I guess I got an ego. I don't know.
Man,
you.
No, you're a good man.
No.
You're a good man, Mike Rogers.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of stuff that's happening now. Tell me about the books. I want to hear a little bit about these.
The one I've been working on the most, and I think, well, the one I've actually been offered money for it already, but unfortunately that was before Biden was elected, and after he was elected, that my New York publisher wouldn't speak to him anymore. I think they found out that I voted Republican. I don't know what happened.
They canceled
That was a small fortune, but So now I got to find a different publisher. I suppose I ought to finish it first. But I'm working on another book, actually a book that's already finished, and I probably might go with that because it's called The First Event. Actually, the first event of the Phoenix Lights.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't tie into Travis.
It's a fiction book. What's that?
Oh, okay. So I thought it might have tied into Travis somehow.
No, that doesn't tie into him at all.
Okay.
No, I don't even think he witnessed that.
This is fiction about the Phoenix Lights, this book.
Well, the Phoenix Lights, it's a fiction book, okay? I won't reveal too much about it, but it's a story about how the whole thing happened in a way that is rather intriguing. At least I think it is. I won't go too much into that. Like I say, it's fiction because, you see, most people believe in the Phoenix Lights. As a matter of fact, on my Facebook page, a couple of different times, I tried putting the information out there, the documentation, okay?
Yep.
They want to have it. There are only about a handful of people even asked to see the documentation or the article that I had in the MUFON Journal in May of 2019. So, I just kind of gave up on that. But this is fiction. It wasn't originally written that way. I changed it because, nobody's going to accept a real story, right? They just won't.
Right.
Maybe the skeptics will. Matter of fact, they won't either because they think it was airplanes.
Well, I mean, if you do something in a fiction way dealing with a real event, it actually works out better because you could, come up with the characters and base it on the event itself. But, you save on royalties because you don't have to pay anybody because their name is not used. It's not their story.
Right. It's exactly right.
It's an original
kind of the way did us with Fire in the Sky, huh?
That's exactly how they did you guys on Fire in the Sky.
I'll tell you what, they changed that movie so bad. It was, when I first watched it, I went, oh my God, this is hardly recognizable. This is just not the story,
Yeah,
Now, I will say this, my part, you might say, of the movie was a little closer to real, okay, a little closer to realistic. Travis's part of the movie was pretty much fictionalized. At least the part of, board the UFO and all that stuff. I mean, pretty much fictionalized. Hell, it was fictionalized.
The whole thing was fake. When I talked to Travis years ago, he told me, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. And I was like, what the hell happened? Oh, yeah, I read the book. I know what happened, but why didn't they put that in the movie? And he was like, I have no idea. They're just, Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, well.
And Hollywood loves to destroy. I mean, the real story, I've always said, is better than what they put in the movie.
I only talked to two people in Paramount. I guess Tracy Torme, who's the one who wrote the screenplay. He pretty much held to. He just didn't want to say much about it. Okay, but the director of the movie, his name was Wolfgang Peterson. He talked to me quite a bit about it. And I was asking him, he says, well, we need to be original. And these creatures have been in beer commercials and stuff. So that's about all I got out of anybody.
Oh, wow. That's bizarre. I know Tracy Torme was upset, and I heard, and I was, seen him publicly speak about this once. And he said a long time ago that he didn't even like talking about it because he was so mad at the way everything turned out because it wasn't what he initially wanted to do with that movie. I think he had initially really a genuine affection for the story. He really wanted to tell an honest and true tale of what happened and what the book was about. But unfortunately, again, Hollywood, man, the powers that play. Yeah. Make the money and put the money forward, told them you got to do this or else.
Well, I'll tell you this much, Paramount shot themselves in the foot because if they would have stuck to the story, it would have been a blockbuster.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost was anyway, but, I'm talking about a big one,
Well, but look, they did it to him a couple times. They even did it on his show Sliders.
Yep.
When that show came out, I mean, that was a great show. Had a lot of really interesting concepts when it came to like space time, time travel, space travel, interdimensional wormholes, Einstein's, Pesky, Rosen Bridge. I mean, the whole nine yards. And they went in and they butchered it after like the first two seasons, and then like by the fifth season, you're like, what the hell am I watching? and, and they canceled. It was funny because
they've got their political agendas for one thing.
Yeah, but what was funny about that show was he left after, I think, after the second season because he couldn't deal with it anymore, and they took it off of Fox. It ended up on the Sci-Fi Network, and it got canceled after 5 seasons as the number one show on the network. And they still canceled it because it was so bad. Even though it was the number one show they had, it was so bad that they were like, yeah, even though it's number one, the most watched, this is just junk. I mean, that's got to be terrible, that feeling for the creator who did create a fantastic show. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's sad. But Hollywood does that all the time. I mean, they really like nailed the Fire in the Sky in a bad way, man. I mean, that's why I've always said if you guys can get that back and redo that movie, it would be awesome. And I know there was talk about that recently, right? Or nothing long ago.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of talk about it, but for me personally, I think the story's just been, I think it's played out basically. There might be another remake, but it won't be a big budget movie like Fire in the Sky. It'll be.
You think it might be wise to wait like maybe a few years before they shoot another movie? Like maybe wait another like 10 years or something like that.
I don't know if they wait too long, it'll be history, won't it?
Well, maybe that's the point, though. Sometimes it's good to wait on some of these things before they remake it. I mean, it's already been 30 years almost since the
if
first
they wait
one.
another 15 years, I'm probably the only one of the guys that'll be left alive.
I think so too.
Just kidding.
You and Steve Pierce.
Oh yeah, Steve Pierce. Yeah, he's become my buddy. Actually, he used
I know. I was give him a shout out.
All kinds of crap, But,
every time you're on there, I give him a shout out. He's a good man. I like Steve, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah. I like that beard mustache he has too. Oh, and John Gillette. Oh man, his looks crazy. His is white, and it's like a full. I don't know what you call that, but it's like everything below his nose is just all white, and long. And
like a Fu Manchu. But
his mustache, his mustache comes like this and down each side, I could do that, but I'm not going to.
It's like a Fu Man American Chew.
Yeah. Actually, I'm slowly getting rid of my facial hair. As you know, see, I used to be all here. I shaved all this off, and that's just because I don't know.
I saw
I'm
you're
tired of hair, to tell you the truth.
You had the beard before, like last time I talked, you had like covered in facial hair.
I'm not going to get rid of my mustache or my beard, but I may shorten my hair. Get it down to shoulder length or something, or maybe even shorter.
You ship me some of that hair, and I'll make a wig out of it for myself.
Yeah. How much do you suppose this is worth, huh? Look at that.
Hey, coming from Mike Rogers, that might be worth a couple bucks.
Hell, that probably wouldn't be worth shipping.
Well, at least it'll cover it should be enough to cover the shipping and handling for sure.
See this painting right over here to my left over here?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is that like a black Leonardo DiCaprio? What's going on with that guy? Because
no, that's a painting of Christ. Okay, I haven't finished the hair. But when I get it done, I was hanging on the wall. Right now, it's just leaning up there. But
he does have a little bit of DiCaprio on the face, though.
Really?
And a tad. Maybe I'm just seeing things like our friends see faces on ours. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But listen, I know that you wanted to talk about some other stuff that's been happening recently, because last time we spoke, I was really happy that you and Travis had gotten everything together, and everything was on the men's. What's been going on with you two? You two on the men's still, or what's happening?
Oh, we're having a little bit of rough water. Travis seems to be a little more upset than I am. In fact, I'm not upset at all. But he's very concerned about I won't mention any names or anything, but about a group that is hell-bent on making a skeptical documentary.
Okay.
And Travis is pretty upset about that, actually.
I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to tarnish something that. I mean, well, how much more do you guys need to do to prove it? I mean, how many lie detector tests have you guys taken in past?
Well,
you know,
this guy supposedly recorded me without me knowing about it.
Oh wow.
I listened to a little bit of it because he sent it to Travis, not me, because he unfriended me on Facebook, telephone, everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I haven't been able to directly speak to him or text him or whatever. But Travis has, so I've given him certain things to tell this character, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, anything
Travis
we can
is
do
very
here
concerned about his reputation, but and of
Yeah, I
course
can
I am
imagine.
mine too, but
Yeah.
not quite like his. I'm somebody. You see, I learned what happiness is. It's called having no expectations, which came easy for me because I was sort of that way to start with.
Mm.
And so I really don't care what's going to happen with the future. I mean, I'm concerned, but I'll just let it happen. I'm not going to get all worried. I'm not going to get upset about it.
Well, I mean, is it somebody that we know here on the network, or somebody that's relatively known publicly,
no,
or?
no, I don't think so.
Oh,
What's
okay.
really strange to me is this guy has legs that are about half the length of his upper body. And,
Holy moly!
that's the first time I saw him. I thought, what? Kind of strange. I mean, it's not his fault, of course. I mean, people are just
Bad
born the way
genetics,
they're
yeah.
born. Yeah, but
Or
I
maybe
kind of lucked
he's a
out.
hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid. Well, somebody made a serious mistake if he is.
Hey, nobody said God was perfect or aliens are perfect.
Yeah, yeah, right. Oh, and here a month ago, or a little more than that, Travis and I, my sister Dana, Travis's brother Don, and my friend Richard Gonzalez. Actually, Travis and I were like the main characters. And they did, I think they went to Georgia too, and they filmed John Gillette and Steve Pierce at the same
Cool.
time. And so I don't know what's going to happen. That'll be on the Travel Channel, and I believe they said October, sometime in October.
Well, that's cool. Perfect place for you guys to do the Travel Channel, considering that Travis took a travel.
Yeah.
And really, life
So,
for you guys have been one big travel sense, because my
yeah.
goodness, man.
What this guy about this skeptical documentary, what he did, you see, here a few months ago, I made the statement that how do I put it? I'm no longer to be considered a witness to Travis Walton's supposed abduction. Now, I
Right.
basically did that to kind of get his ghost, Travis' ghost, I was just trying to get his attention, in other words, because he seemed to be unapproachable, So I figured if I did something that would piss him off, then he would take me serious. See?
Right. Makes sense. Yeah,
And,
yeah. You push buttons. I get
yeah,
it. You're the
yeah,
realist.
right. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of psychology involved in that. It's kind of like a long-term plan.
Right.
But what this one fellow did, see, I admitted to him that none of the witnesses, actually saw Travis get abducted. But I
Right.
sped away in the truck, and well,
Which
he ran with that.
anybody who knows the case knows that to be a fact. We've all don't like. There's no disputing that. You guys took off, and even Travis, when I talked to him years ago, he was like, "Yeah, I don't blame him for taking off because they thought I was dead. So why would they stick around?
That's right.
Why have the whole
Uh,
crew die? I mean, to me, I love you. You're my buddy, but if I see something that does that to you, I'm taking off too because I don't want to die. Like, that's just common sense.
Right. Well, also I had all those guys yelling at me too, you know. I hesitated. I hesitated
Yeah.
a few seconds, but they were yelling at me pretty loud. In fact, when I didn't leave immediately, they were really shouting and yelling at me.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so all said and
That's
done, I
you know
I
what it
took
is
off.
though, Mike? It's
But
people like that, they don't put themselves in the heat of the moment and they just look at optics
uh,
and they don't understand that when you're in that moment and something like that happens, you have to deal with it in a situation where everybody deals with things differently and this is the way you guys dealt with it. And I think honestly 9 out of 10 people would have dealt the same way that you guys did.
I'm pretty sure they would. I did. I was down on myself for a while, but in fact, I kind of flip flop with that here time to time. But I'm pretty much stable now about that's what anybody would have done.
Right. No,
I
I
mean,
mean
a
we
person would
can't
have
blame.
had to be rather strange or off balance, to have done different.
You know what's great about talking about this, Mike, is one joke in horror movies is like, why is the guy going in that direction by himself? He gets killed, and then why did his friend go in the same direction, trying to investigate? Why don't these people just leave instead of trying to investigate how one guy died, right?
Because it
And then
wouldn't be a movie,
here
a story. There wouldn't be a
Well, yeah,
story,
but
right?
here in real life, you guys did the logical thing, which we all think in the movies that's what they should do, which is take off, and then you get
Yeah.
criticized for doing the right thing. It's crazy. Oh
My
man.
my son and I were watching a movie last night. See what it's called? News of the World. Tom Hanks.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that one, but I heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very good movie. It really is. Uh, it has its moments of sadness and then joy.
Mhm.
It was put together very good. Anyway, there's this one scene in there where this little girl, she's kind of down at the bottom of this hill. She's like maybe 200 feet away, and
Mhm.
so Hanks he walks up the hill there, and because he thought it was horses running, it turned out to be a dust storm coming down him. Well, the dust storm catches up to him. He starts yelling to this girl, and it pissed me off because I was thinking, if that would have been me, I'd have just run straight down to her. I would have run straight to her because instead he just stands there and starts yelling for her, and then he starts walking slow that way. That just wasn't real at all.
Again, it could be maybe just the way that person would have dealt with it. I mean, again, people deal with things differently, and
Well, again,
it
in
might not be
movies,
realistic to
you have to
us,
have
but
something
it
that
is a
makes
movie
sense,
though. So
Yeah.
it is a movie, and if they, I'm sure for dramatic. I haven't seen the movie, but for dramatic purposes, the writer probably thought that would work best. There's
Yep.
often things I don't agree about, with movies, but that's what movies do, though. They reflect the best and the worst in humans, and at the same time, they give twists and angles which not everybody follows. I think that some directors call it subverting your expectations. I don't know if you ever
Yep.
heard that expression before.
Well, I don't have any expectations, so that wouldn't really equate with me. Just kidding.
Oh man, look, I don't know this dude, whoever he is, but I'll tell you this much: if there's anything we could do on our end here on PSN Radio, you let me know. We'll go smack him up a
All
little
right.
bit.
Yeah.
We'll take kneecaps out, man. Whatever you need me
Yeah.
to do. We got your
Well,
back. We got your back.
well, like I say, I can't even talk to him anymore. He's unfriended me. He cut me off a phone. I've tried several things, so he won't. And so I do it through Travis, but Travis is so upset. I've never seen him that upset, to tell you the truth. He's
Well,
beside himself, yeah.
hopefully everything works out and you guys are okay. Let's switch up a little bit. What do you think of the possible disclosure? We're in that month. Do you think we're going to get anything disclosure coming our way?
I honestly don't believe we're going to get anything worth anything.
Yeah, same
And you
here.
know why? Because I don't believe the government knows any more than we do. They see things in the sky, they film things in the sky, but they have no idea what they are.
You know that's the narrative that it seems like they're going with. But you know what's funny though, when you read the Walton experience, and you know what happened in the ship. You know, we talked about this before, where he has the human-looking beings that approach him in the ship. Uh, you know, what if there's some truth to that, and these are actually humans that are working side by side with the aliens?
I don't know. I wasn't
I
there.
mean, they never spoke to Travis, so I mean, you know, he
Yeah.
has no way. But that would be kind of funny though. They would have actually spoken and they had like an accent. You know, think about that.
Well, he
Yeah,
says they never spoke a word. I mean, either kind, the grays or what do they call them? Those little creatures, whitish-looking creatures,
yeah, the
big
Greys,
eyes.
the Greys. Yeah,
Of course, I've drawn all that. You know, the human types, the Nordics, they call them, or the grays, as they call them. You know?
but imagine if the Nordics-looking guys, or the one guy, because I know there's a guy and a girl, supposedly. But imagine if the guy would have been like, "Hey, Travis, come on, buddy. We're gonna take you over here and away from the little gray guys because you know they're some dangerous folks. These little gray little nincompoops running around. Like I know they tried to scare you, my friend. I mean, if somebody with an accent like that comes on,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, okay, am I being punked towards Ashton Kutcher? What's going on here? And this is in the '70s, so actually, I don't think Ashton was still
Yeah,
swimming
well,
his shorts. But
I tell you the truth, that, I've done a lot of investigation into UFOs and stuff like that, obviously, but I don't think aliens have actually talked to anybody.
I think the only one that might have had some verbal communication was Betty and Barney Hill. I think Betty actually got the alien to speak to her, one of the aliens, if I remember right. And they when she asked where they came from, and they told her that it didn't really matter because she would not really understand. And she was like, "But can you show me?" And he showed her like on a star map or something like that. I think that's one of the rare occasions. But you're right. Most of the time, people say that they are communicate telepathically if they do at all, for the most part. And a lot of folks are just like, no, they don't even say a word. They just grab you and
Yeah.
move you. Yeah.
Well, I'm tell you something. I met Betty Hill over in a
Well,
convention in New Hampshire. Okay, she was agent at the time. I don't know how old she was, 65, 70, somewhere in there.
I was gonna say, I must have been a while
and
back.
she told me, she said, I said, I was talking to her, and then I'll know her. She was telling me about Bigfoot. And I said, what do you mean Bigfoot? She says, oh, well, I talk to him every day in my backyard. I thought, what in the world?
Yeah.
That kind of leans towards her losing her mind, or making something up.
Well, I mean, she was what, 68? You said.
Something around there.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's
Well,
still alive. Is she still alive,
no, no, I think she's passed on at
Yeah.
this point. You know, I met Kathleen Martin, who's a lovely lady.
Oh,
her
yeah,
niece.
yeah.
And I mean, she's never brought that up, but that'd be interesting to bring that up to her one day and ask her, what she thinks about that, because I mean that's interesting. Now, here's the thing, though, Mike, and while it's funny we mentioned Bigfoot because the show we had on earlier tonight, Kate, who does a show around the campfire, actually brought up the term the Bigfoot phenomenon. And what's interesting about that is they brought up a theory that has, of course, been running around for a long time. The Bigfoot is interdimensional, or not from this earth. So let's just say that Betty and Barney Hill's contact, whatever it was, triggered the ability for other interdimensional beings, like a Bigfoot, to make contact with her as they saw that she wasn't
Yeah.
frightened or afraid. I mean, if they're checking up on us and these beings are really there, Mike Rogers, then you gotta like say, well, there's a possibility, whether it's one in a million, one in a trillion, one in 100. There's always a chance. Like it's like Jim Carrey said at
Yeah.
There's always a chance.
Yeah, always a chance. So you're saying there is a chance, yeah.
Right,
Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. Well, anyway, and you got me laughing here because I like that movie.
You have a great
I've
laugh.
watched it several times. Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance. No, but Kathleen Martin, she's a great lady. I actually got to meet her in person back in MUFON in 2016 when I attended the conference here in Florida, the symposium. And I got to meet her and Stan Friedman and all of these folks. And, their story, especially, Stan Friedman's story, always, it's one that I love to talk about because he is essentially the guy who got Jesse Marcel to come forward and talk about Roswell before he even wanted to step foot forward and talk about it. And I think other than the Travis Walton experience, Roswell is probably like, number 2 as the most talked about UFO case in the country, probably in the history of the country. I mean, they made a movie about Roswell. They made a movie about Fire in the Sky. They've tinkered with both and messed up both. Let's be honest. But at least these are the ones that people talk about the most, and we haven't had another experience like that since Travis had his experience. I mean, now you look at like the Stan Romanek of the world. I mean, Jesus, and you have a lot of people that are putting computer generated UFOs online and CGI crap, and
I can do that stuff too.
Yeah.
So what's the point? What's the point? I mean, it's just it's a lot of time and stuff wasted for the devious purpose is about all you could use it for.
Yeah.
I mean, and the time involved. I mean. I don't want to be devious.
No, not only that, it's not just that it's a time-consuming thing. It's idiotic because it muddles the water. It makes it, something that is harder to pinpoint what's real and what's not real. And then you have, of course, the people who say, well, you see, if that is fake, everything is fake. And then you have to take that into account, and then you have to, it makes it more of an uphill battle, to be honest.
The trouble today is anything can be faked. Sound, sight, anything. I mean, and Hollywood proves it all the time. I mean, so many of these movies now are like, like Star Trek or something. It's just like, 50%, 80% CGI. Or at least parts of the scene are. And so many other movies are that way now. Of course,
some movies are like, I wanted a table here, but I didn't think about it at the time. Can you CGI a table there? And they're like, yeah, no problem. 5 minutes later, there's a table on the scene.
Yeah. Well, I have an interesting story, kind of a joke in a way. Well, it's humorous to tell about Bigfoot. Okay. I don't know how long ago it was. It was actually somewhere between 12 and 15 years ago. I went on a little 3-day expedition. It took me a day to get there, but for 3 days we were in Northern California. 5 other guys, okay, bedrolls and packs and all that stuff. And I wasn't really hunting for Bigfoot, but I'm a curious guy, So we went up, started above Red Bluff, okay. And went up through we deliberately hiked through some of the darkest woods and everything we could find. And those 5 guys were serious, and I won't mention any of their names, of course, but they were serious. And on the 3rd day, I mean, we hadn't seen anything. There was nothing, no tracks, nothing. But on the 3rd day, in the afternoon of the 3rd day, suddenly there was this Indian guy standing in a clearing, okay. And so we walked up to him, and he says, "Are you guys looking for Bigfoot?" Because he's just like, "You're looking for Bigfoot?" Oh yeah, okay. He says, "Well," we got some. What's some on? He says, "You mean Sasquatch?" Well, yeah, okay. He says, "We got a couple in our village, Really?
A couple? Okay.
Yeah. So we followed this guy. It wasn't very far, 200 or 300 yards, through a little bit of woods and stuff there, and they opened up into this town. It wasn't a village. I mean, you could call it a village, but it was a bunch of trailer houses and kind of. There was a couple of fairly new-looking buildings, but it was just kind of a shamble-looking town, basically. And there was a highway right on the other side of it, which was strange because we were a quarter of a mile from the highway. I didn't know that because we didn't know where we were going. Had a map, but you couldn't make much of it. We were just looking, trying to find the darkest stuff we could. Anyway, he invited us into his house, which was actually a house, kind of a house. Anyway, and we went inside, and his wife was, cooking some lunch, I guess. He says, "Yeah, sit down, stick around, because you guys got to be hungry." Well, yeah, we are, because we had pretty much run out of food, And anyway,
you have an elephant to eat.
Okay, right there. Well, we had pretty good food. She served sandwiches and like some turkey and turkey slices and stuff, some salad. It was, pretty decent for eating, And right there before we even finished, he says, I got to tell you guys something. He says, I told you there was some in the village, right? He said yeah. And I just sensed that something funny was going to happen. I could just hear it coming, just feel it. And this Indian guy, he says, he said, the problem is you got the name switch around. You got the name switch around. She says, we don't call him Sasquatch. We call him Squasnatch. Oh, man. And the other guys, they're like, what? I started laughing, And anyway, that made the whole trip worth it, right? The whole thing.
Just a big hairy Indian dude, right? Like,
yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of things I didn't say. I'm trying to hurry this up. What she was telling. Yeah, they are big. They're scary, and they stink really bad. The guys are all yeah. That's why I figured something was coming. Anyway, I've told that joke several times over the years. And it's actually went. I don't know where the hell it went. It went round the horn or something. Came back to me one day, and I thought, "What?" I said,
"Oh, really?"
Cow. Yeah. So I'll probably be hearing it some more.
You had like an 8 degrees of Kevin Bacon with that joke. It came right back to you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I went Bigfoot. I wouldn't say hunting, but I went Bigfoot searching years ago with a few friends of mine. This is before I started doing the radio podcast. This back in like 2007 or 8. I was on vacation, and it was up in the mountains in Montana, and they were like, "Oh, let's see if we see anything." They were like, I was like, "I don't think they got Bigfoot out in Montana." They're like, "No, but you never know. Let's start going in the woods. We might see a Bigfoot or a ghost or something, man. Shit out here." And I was like, "All right, cool. Whatever. Let's take a walk around." And I tell you what, I think most of the time people are just scared of their own shadow, Mike, because every time they'll step out on a twig or a log, and then you hear like, they'll be like, "Oh my God, it's Bigfoot!
Yeah.
Oh my God!" And I'm like, "You stepped on a twig, you punk!"
Yeah.
And we like 6 hours of like walking around in the woods. We're like, "Okay, guys, there's no Bigfoot out here. It's just getting cold, and there's nothing going on."
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have like a Blair Witch type of event. I would have settled even for that. Like, give me some witches or something. Come on, something.
Well, the expectation, something you put in your own mind.
Yeah.
Expectation will cause a whole lot of things to happen that aren't real.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what Biden and Harris are trying to do right now with the border crisis. They're trying to like make it so it's not happening, even though it's happening.
Well, you were asking me earlier about if Mexicans coming across the border. I don't care.
Well,
they're good. They're good workers. I mean, yeah.
Well,
I used to work in the woods and used to run crews of Mexican guys. because they were awful hard working. Of course, I paid them the regular wage, whereas other contractors were paying half that, taking advantage of them. I wouldn't do that, but
That's sad reality, though. A lot of these people that come over the border to work, and they end up being taken advantage of by a lot of bad people. But see, the thing is, not even the Mexicans that are coming over the border. It's the people from Honduras, Guatemala, making these, ridiculous treks from their country through the border. And what's going on is the coyotes that are picking these people up, with the kids and the women by themselves, and that's the issue. I read a story earlier before you were on, where there was a camp that just got put together under the Biden administration outside of Tijuana, and they had thousands of people there waiting to search the border, and they're now they're doing lines of people okay, this group, you search next. It's like the movie 300, right? Like they're all staged, ready to go, and this one camp, in the last 2 weeks alone, Mike, there's been 6 rape cases of little kids being raped by people within the camp. So we're talking about a camp set up because of the crisis administration just created, and children are getting raped, people are getting killed. I saw a video recently of kids being thrown over a fence, which is not finished. In the middle of the border, people literally are throwing kids over the fence. And this administration are like, yeah, open borders, but we're shutting the Capitol down. Okay, we put fences on the Capitol, we put borders on the Capitol, but our actual border front, open floodgates, search the border. And the problem with that, it's not the Mexican workers that are here, that God bless them for doing what they do, but it's the children and the women that are being taken advantage of and raped and murdered. And that's happening now more and more because of what's the policies that are going on, which are just, horrendous. When you look at the loss of life alone in the last 5-6 months, if you're humanitarian at all, it's heartbreaking,
Wow. Well, I don't keep up with that, and for that reason, I just don't. I don't want to be concerned. I don't want to be depressed. I like being happy. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, imagine I have to keep up with the times, and I do the podcasting, so I have to read through this stuff and watch these videos, and it's heartbreaking to see some of the stuff. I wish we could all just go back and rethink some of the policies that are completely failing in this country, and just really try to fix the situations. But unfortunately, it's not just here; it's other countries too. But I agree. Sometimes I just want to unplug and not even do the show anymore about politics or anything, because it's so sad. It really is. And then you wonder, is this the reason why the aliens keep us at arm's length, where they're like, yeah, not ready yet for full disclosure.
Yeah, well.
You guys still having too many crises. Yeah. We'll wait, Which always makes me ask the question, certain people like, you, Travis, folks who have had these experiences, it almost seems like you're chosen by destiny to have them. But I know with Travis' situation is like, you guys just kind of like accidentally walked into the situation. Travis did anyway, and then you guys were like,
Well, we all did. Yeah. Well, I did. I was driving the truck.
Yeah.
Then he walked directly into it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little different in that sense, which I always I told Travis, and I like the fact that this, it's part of what he also believes, is that his was not an abduction case. His was perhaps they were fixing him because
a rescue.
Yeah. Which
he did something they weren't expecting, and what happened to him wasn't deliberate. In fact, looking back on it, it couldn't have been deliberate. Why would have they have done that? See?
No, and it's not like waiting there like, okay, any minute now we're gonna have a couple guys in a truck and they're gonna come down here.
In other words, aliens can be surprised as well, which stands to reason,
Yeah,
They might be 10 times, 20 times, 100 times smarter than us. They can be surprised.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, who knows what they were doing in the woods back
maybe they were
then?
using the restroom. You know?
Yeah. Maybe they were,
I'm sure they must do that sort of thing. You know, maybe they were eating, maybe they're making love. Who knows? You know, and they just weren't paying attention.
taking a nap. Maybe you know what? Maybe they're so smart and they're so intelligent, and they can travel the cosmos. But Mike, they have not invented cruise control. So when they want to take a nap, they just got to all land somewhere and be like, "All right, everybody, let's take a nap." No cruise control.
Think of this though.
No,
They would have to be going at least the speed of light to get there or here from there, right? In fact, if you do the math, okay, just to get from Alpha Centauri, okay, who's the closest, actually, the binary system, just to get there, I mean, get here from there, would take many, many months, even at the speed of light.
Yeah. Well, that's where I guess the theory of wormholes and those kind of things come into play. But while it's fun to theorize, there's no science that actually has produced that kind of technology that we know about. And I mean, what are the chances that really you could bend space and time into a singularity point where you could just cross right through and you're like 10 light years away? I mean, seriously, that's far-fetched even for Einstein. Well, it's a nice theory, and mathematics how to theorize it, but realistically, I don't know, man. What do you think?
Well, Rosenbridge, that's those were just theories that Einstein and them had put out. They weren't. They're just a theory, and they were never backed up by any kind of proof of any kind, not even any kind of real evidence. No,
like I said,
truth is we don't have proof of much of anything.
Yeah. And that goes with religion, it goes with ufology, goes with everything. And in fact, it's funny, we know less about the ocean than we know about space.
That's right.
You live right on top of the ocean.
Yeah.
Something.
And this book that I'm still screwing around with it because I keep finding new illusions, I mean, natural illusions, man-made illusions, mental illusions. Another category that I found in the process is called virtual perception. And that is rather unique because that is a natural illusion.
Yeah.
It's I can't explain it here without visuals or something, but well, for instance, if you look at on paper something that's three-dimensional, you look at it and you cross your eyes, or you let your eyes go natural, go lax, so that you, one way or the other, your eyes focus on something, and it's deliberately made because they've got books full of these things, and you can get 3-dimension out of it. And some of it's really striking. It's very good 3-dimension. Okay, that is virtual perception.
Very true.
That doesn't explain it exactly, but a matter of fact, if take a 747, everybody's seen them taking off or landing. They're actually moving at approximately 190 miles an hour, either leaving or on approach, landing. And if you see them kind of out in the sky to where there's no real reference to go by, just the they will look like they're moving way too slow.
Yeah.
Well, that's virtual perception. Because the thing of it is that it looks slow because it's twice as big as a normal jetliner. Right.
Mike, I did this. I don't know if I ever told you, but I hoaxed a UFO video. Yes, I did. This is years ago here in Florida. I was outside my house, and there was an airplane coming directly towards me. Not like it was going to hit my house or anything, but it's coming directly in my direction. And it just looked like it was just sitting there in the sky. And I'm like, oh, let me get my camera on. This is like before cameras were like 1080p or 4K like they are now, So it was a little bit blurry. And as I tried to zoom in, it became an orb
Yeah.
It looked like it had all this kind of like fiery stuff in the middle, and I
Mhm.
mean, by God, this looked like an alien ship. And I recorded like 5 minutes of this thing just sitting there, and you can hear the worst acting ever in the video. Like, oh my God, there's an alien spaceship in the sky right here in Florida, and I'm hamming it, right. This is like me hamming out, like this is a complete hoax. I'm doing it on purpose, and I posted that on YouTube. This is when YouTube first had kind of started, and I posted it on there, and I was like, let me see if anybody bites on this. And sure enough, about a week later, there was some website that ran with it as an authentic UFO in Florida, and the website had over about a million something like hits, where it became like the biggest story they had, and I was like, oh my God, they actually believe that this is a real legit UFO. And I tell you, I'm not even lying. That this is straight up. On the comment section, people were leaving comments like, "Have you been approached by the Men in Black? Have you talked to the FBI? What else have you captured? Oh my God, this is the best footage I've seen in decades." And I'm like, "This was an airplane." And I know it's an airplane because the direction it was coming from, there's an airport. And when it went over my head, it was an airplane. So,
Well, I had an incident happen like that in Snowflake. A friend of mine, Richard Gonzalez, we were standing out on his porch, and this was just 2 or 3 weeks after, the event happened in November 5th, 1975. Anyway, we're standing on the porch, and look way off to the east. There was this bright light, and it slowly got larger and larger and larger. And pretty soon, we looked down the street there, and everybody was standing out on their porch. And of course, this was early evening. I mean, it was like dark, but it was just kind of like twilight,
right.
And everybody's standing on their porch, and I could hear comments from across the street and from down the way. Oh my God, it's a UFO! It's a UFO! And then it came right up over the top right. It was actually a jet headed towards Phoenix, right? And it comes over, it goes, shh.
Yeah, but see the difference,
not
though,
too
Mike.
not too far past, the light went out because it was the what do you call it, headlight of the jet just accidentally left on, right? And even after it went over, everybody's going, "My God, it's a UFO!"
But the difference is, though, Mike, when you say something like that, when you're there, everybody's gonna be like, "Yo, that's a UFO! It has to be Mike Rogers is here." Like we must be getting messed with now that it looks like an airplane. But
I don't think some of those people even knew I was there. I tell you the truth. I could just hear them, from across the street and down the way. They were doing their comm without knowing anything about me. But it was because of this thing had just happened to us, okay?
Right.
And so it was a big thing there, especially in Snowflake, and half the people believed it. But it's funny how even people who didn't believe it suddenly started believing it.
Yeah.
In fact, today you won't find hardly anybody in Snowflake or anywhere for that matter that doesn't believe in the UFOs. That
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
That's very true. I mean, I've met a lot of people. I've met only a few people in Snowflake, Arizona, but I've met a lot of people in Arizona, and it's like it's statewide, Mike. I mean, everybody pretty much is on point where, yeah, we believe that happened. I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years, and I have not met one person in 11 years who tells me, that's all BS. These guys hoax the whole thing. The only ones that I ever hear say that are like the debunkers that want to make a name for themselves on the internet. Those are the only ones. But when you actually talk to the people in the area who know you guys and were around, especially the older folks who were there in the 75, I mean, there's no debating it. I mean, you guys out there know what I'm talking about. You know that this happened.
Yeah. Well, there was a book by Bill Berry. It actually came out before Travis's book, The Walton Experience, okay? And in that book, he calls me and Ken Peterson utterly straight arrows. Because he had investigated and found out that neither Ken or I had ever done any kind of thing wrong. No traffic tickets, no nothing. And funny thing is, right to this very day, I still have no criminal record, no police record. I do have a police record for kicking a couple of guys' asses in the street, but other than that, no.
I heard about that. You're a tough guy.
Yeah, well, I guess. Well,
You used to be able to do those roundhouse kicks, and now you're more Steven Seagal with like just the hands like.
yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Here about a month ago, right down the street here, when I could walk. Okay, I mean I can walk. I go out to the bathroom. I need a back operation. They say I need a back operation. Well, I don't know about that. That's pretty intrusive, isn't it? Especially at my age, which is 74. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Maybe, but that's pretty. I've heard that the success rate.
Do you have a broken like L4 or L5 something like that? 'Cause that's what I have.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the X-rays yet. Those are still to come.
Gotcha.
In fact, I still haven't had the MRI yet because they had to reschedule it, and I'm supposed to get word of that here in a day or two. And I'll have it done. But right now I'm kind of stoved up. And anyway, I've lost my train of thought.
Well, I'll give you something to think about here. I actually had this conversation with my back doctor when they were talking about doing my back surgery a couple years ago, and he even said if you could avoid it, because even though it's fusing the spine, you're never going to be the same. My surgery required double surgery. They have to go through the back and then through the front, and fuse the spine together with the two nails, and then they had to go in and make sure the screws held in, and it was very very confusing and very painful. He said, and at my age, I'm only 43, and he said this would actually make your next 15 years, if you're alive that long. He said it'll make it so you're going to lose mobility and you're still going to have some pain. So what's the purpose really? And yeah. I looked at him and I was like, well, I'm in pain now. And he goes, and you're going to be in pain afterwards. But the worst part is there is a possibility that it won't work properly and they're going to have to go back in and do a second surgery. And I was like, so that would be 1, 2 at first, and then the third surgery. And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to be okay with just dealing with the pain now, instead of having to go through all that. So I mean, at our age, man, I wouldn't recommend it.
The only thing wrong with me here up until this happened is I had lost a little balance from actually the direct cause was getting hit by lightning when I was in a tree installing a lightning protection system. A very tall tree. They have some tall pines around here, and of course you find the tallest pine you can to do that on. Right. Because the taller it is, the better for the protection. The wider the area you'll cover. There's a formula that goes by, and so I was in this tree, and I'd already put the cable up for the lightning rod, and it was down on the ground. Still a spool of wire down there, but actually it's a half inch thick, and it's braided copper cable. Well, all of a sudden, and I was, the rod and everything was in. I was going down to set the clips, the things that tied it to the tree. They're called slip clamps.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I just woke up, like I was waking up in the morning. And I'm lucky to fall off the tree, but I don't know how long I was asleep.
Wow.
But I thought, what in the hell am I doing on top of this tree? And it took me a few seconds to really get my bearings straight, Then I realized what I was doing. And I thought, now why in the world? What caused that? I didn't hear anything, Now my girlfriend Bernadette was working down below. She was taking care of the debris that I was cutting, trying to in order to put these cable up the side of a tree, you have to cut a few dead limbs and stuff like that. Anyway, she heard the lightning, but she didn't know what happened. She didn't know where it came from. And I came down the tree. I sort of finished the clips, but I was kind of dazed, you might say. When I got down to the bottom of the tree, I couldn't walk. I fell over.
Wow.
And so we went into the. She helped me into the house. The people who were doing the lightning protection system for her. And the lady says her name was Liz Bliss. I remember that. Anyway, she
Bliss.
Yeah, Liz like Elizabeth Bliss, Bliss like Bliss. Anyway, she said your face is drooping. I said, what? So I looked in the mirror there. I couldn't believe it. Anyway,
do you think you got hit directly by the lightning, or did it hit the tree?
No,
and you just got the aftershock?
The lightning hit the tree, hit the cable. Is what it hit.
Right.
And there's a thing. I studied an awful lot about lightning rods. Lightning in particular. And there's when lightning has this force field around it. In fact, if all you could see was the lightning itself, it wasn't for the fact that it evaporates the air and lights up a big channel that might be a foot, 2 feet in diameter. If it was just the lightning, you couldn't see it because it would be such a small, nothing.
Right. It's like a thread.
Yeah,
it's like a thread. Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah, the plasma is what hit me. I don't know how much of it, but it was enough to knock me out, and I don't know how long I was out. But what that did is it.
At least it didn't kill you, though. That's the important thing. Cause I mean, that's a scary situation. Right.
Well, the thing of it is, the way I was hanging, I was in a harness. Okay, a harness. The way I was hanging, I wasn't actually touching the cable, because I would deliberately set myself, set the rope and everything, so I was about like 2 feet out, perfect working distance to deal with it. Okay, and so that's what happened. Anyway, what it did is it precipitated a stroke.
Wow.
And well, I didn't go to the hospital with that stroke because I was very, very leery of hospitals. As a lot of people are. That seems to be where you catch diseases. I was very concerned when I was in the hospital
like
here a couple weeks ago. I was very concerned about catching COVID there, because hospital is a terrible place. That's the one place where you're going to catch a disease if you're going to catch one. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never worn a mask. In fact, I make jokes about it.
By the way, let me ask you: did you take the kill shot yet? Have you been vaccinated?
Hell no. And I'll shoot them if they try to.
I don't blame you. I
swear to God, I will.
I'm not going to do it myself. People have asked me all the time, but don't you trust Trump? I mean, you voted for the guy, and I'm like, yes, but Trump is not a doctor, and the doctor who was in charge, Dr. Fauci, fucked everybody. So I'm not exactly trusting Dr. Fauci, who also lied to Trump, and even Trump was saying, Dr. Fauci's a liar, right? Like, Trump can't, I think, come out and just, say what he knows right now about Dr. Fauci for political reasons, because he knows they're going to attack him regardless. So he has to kind of like tiptoe around like what's happening. But I'm pretty sure for the last year at least, he's known that Dr. Fauci was just full of it. And that's why he subliminally has come out saying, well, Fauci has been, inconsistent with the masks, with this or with that. He's kind of letting you know that Fauci's full of it without coming out and saying it, which is the proper way of dealing with it. Because you don't want to be the president that says, yeah, the guy who was in charge of, medicine for the last 40 years with the AIDS epidemic and everything, that guy's full of shit. You don't want to be that president, because then you look at the government and you're like, what the hell have we been doing for the last 40 years with this guy? Why is Fauci the highest paid person in the entire United States when it comes to like people that work within government? I mean, you realize that he gets paid more than the president.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that, but I believe it.
Yeah,
or at least I say it's very possible. I
No,
try to
that's
keep out of
an
that.
that's how fun,
I really just don't want to think about that. Now, I was very politically active during the election, before the election. But, it's kind of like, okay, well, what is, right? I mean,
yeah.
and what are we, the little people, going to do about it?
Not much. Everybody's talking about August. Something big is going to happen in August. QAnon says August we're going to have Trump come back, and I'm like, QAnon has been fooling you guys for a long time, and you keep falling for this shit. Like, you know, and QAnon. Kaiser was talking about it on the show previously, where he was saying that it started off as some real people doing real leaking of information and this and that. And I'm like, maybe when they first started a decade ago, but my research into QAnon is there were never a single entity. It's always been a group of people that have been putting stuff out there, and a lot of folks that are in Antifa currently, I know for a fact, are doing things through QAnon to confuse people, and literally to like make it seem that one thing is the narrative, and then when people act a certain way, they make themselves, the conservative party, Trump, they make everybody look bad, which is part of what happened in the Capitol. You had Trump supporters, but then you had an entire group of members from like these groups that were fringe domestic terrorists, as I call them, that worked with Antifa, BLM, QAnon, and they were all in there to do what they did and to make it the optic that there was an insurrection. Some insurrection, nobody got killed in there by one Trump supporter who got shot by one of the officers that worked for Congress. Hell of an insurrection. But orange men bad, you know how that works. Yeah. This is again, Mike, why the aliens don't talk to us. That's the reason.
Yeah, well, why should they talk to us?
Yeah,
In
that's
fact,
the question.
I kind of doubt anybody who says they have. I think it's one of those things where people think they need to do something like that, pump up their thing, or and I don't think it's deliberate. It's just something that happens. Because the mind is a strange thing,
Yeah.
People can think things that aren't real. They can see things that aren't real. And then you have people saying, oh, well, the common consensus says, for instance, like the Phoenix Lights, everybody thinks it was alien, right?
Right.
Well, I'm going to say, well, like 200 years ago, most people thought the moon was just beyond the clouds and made of Swiss cheese.
I wish that would have been the case. I love Swiss cheese. But it goes back to even like look at what happened with Galileo. I mean, people looked at him and like, we got to put this guy in a crazy home. Earth is round.
Yeah.
And now they say that about the flat Earth community. They got to put them in a padded room. Earth is flat.
What about these people that don't believe we've been to the moon?
Well, that's a completely different kind of a delusional.
Naysayers, right?
Yeah, well, as my good old friend, rest in peace, Stanton Friedman would say, the nasty debunkers. These are just the nasty debunkers, Angel. Don't listen to them. And my goodness, he was so right about a lot of these folks. That just, it doesn't matter what the facts are. They try to spin it in a direct debunking way. And the funny thing is when you ask them to give you details of how they're debunking it, they never give you real detail. It's always like a bunch of buzzwords and code language and narrative that goes nowhere. But they can't be like, okay, see, here's the proof in your face. You never get that.
Well, I had a show when I was with KGRA. First with Ken Johnson and Brett Shepard.
Yep.
And their thing was they were claiming that there were moon bases on the moon, okay? Well, they actually had some photographs, I put several of them up, and everything. So I got to thinking about it, and I put this one. I got this great big Sony Vaio over here, the big monitor and the whole thing, and I put it on there, and I thought, there's something wrong with this picture. So I started looking at it. It took me a couple of evenings just thinking about here and there. Pretty soon I got to put the picture together. It was the whole thing was folded. This one very best moon base shot they had, okay, was actually folded up like an accordion, or I should say stretched out, okay?
Okay.
And so I figured out how it was done. And what it was a time lapse, but it wasn't a time lapse over a period of time. It was a time lapse like in segments, like frames, okay?
Okay.
So I collapsed it, okay? I had to do it several times to get it just right. But I finally got it to collapse just right, and guess what? It was just an ordinary crater full of ordinary rocks, debris.
Yeah.
In fact, I put both the pictures on my page. They're way down there now. Okay, but if you can actually go there and you find them, they're next to each other, and if you jog back and forth, okay, you can see how it expands and then collapses, and it's a normal moon base. I mean, a normal moonscape, which used to be, in their opinion, a moon base.
Do you think there's actually any, actual bases up there, though? I mean that, there's just a pile of rocks. But do you think there's actually anything up there right now?
Well, no. About a month later, I had Mark D'Antonio and Peter Robbins on my show. And Peter Robbins was kind of I want a believer, but he's also kind of sort of a skeptic, And Mark D'Antonio is kind of the same way, but he's a little more scientific. And so I showed him that. In fact, I sent him a picture that, both, and told him what to do with it. And he looked at it. And so when he came on the show, he was saying that there are so many orbiters around the moon now, so many different countries, okay? And the resolution of these things are much higher.
Yeah.
And they've taken literally pictures of every square inch of the moon. I mean, all the way around it, everything. And because they can get clear pictures depending on the way the moon is, they can get daylight pictures, whatever, the whole entire moon. He says there are no moon bases.
I got a wrench that I could throw into that. It's a big monkey wrench. What if, the base is not a surface moon base, but is underground, and they have like a trap door type of thing where when they go in and it closes, it just looks like it's part of the moon, and you can't tell the difference.
Well, tell me this: what would be the purpose?
To observe and monitor Earth from a very close distance.
Why would they need to do that when they can come here?
Well, that's a different question altogether.
Do it from space. Why would they need a moon base?
Well,
wouldn't a spaceship be better than a moon base, and all the trouble and expense to do it, or whatever it takes?
Well, what if the moon was a spaceship at one point? That's another theory I've heard. Mike,
what if Earth was? What if the sun was? What if our galaxy is? Actually, our galaxy, the sun, all that really is. I mean, that our if you combine all the speeds, okay.
Yeah.
Our sun is moving somewhere between 60,000 miles and 200,000 miles an hour, depending on the angle and all this stuff, And so we got to be going through an awful lot of space rather quickly. Who knows what's out there? So what we have here is a spaceship.
That's exactly what it is.
An unbelievable
speed. Is that everything is moving kind of like at the same time. So it's like, that's the inertia we don't feel, because we're all moving really fast. It's like everything is moving at the same time. And we're spinning, things are spinning, but, we're all moving in one direction. It was spinning in this direction. It's like, it's a lot of different things happening at once with all the planets around the sun. But when you really think about it, the planet Earth, the moon, I mean, these are all spaceships in a sense. They're biological spaceships, and we can travel through the cosmos. But if we're traveling on at the same time, we're never going to reach a place where it's going to be like, oh my goodness, it's so different, unless we're all traveling in a certain direction to an event horizon somewhere, a brick wall in space where it's like, like the Truman Show when he finally reaches that spot and he opens the door. I'm
Yeah.
free.
Oh yeah, I like
You know?
that show. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, that was a cool show.
The
Jim
Truman Show.
Carrey,
Yeah.
big
And he
dome.
finally reaches it. And it's funny because like at the very end there's like the staircase and he walks up and he opens the door and he gives the bow. I mean,
Yeah, he disappears. Anyway, well, I got a question for you. Have
Go
you
ahead.
ever looked up in the sky and do two things at the same time? Realize that all those stars out there, they're moving different directions,
Right.
and they're moving at phenomenal speeds. And yet, for the last 5,000 years, the constellations have not changed appreciably.
I can answer that actually. They're all moving in different directions, but the constellations that we see are either moving slightly in the same direction that we are moving in, or
No,
it's just getting
That
light.
they do generally, but the thing of it is that they're actually stars that move opposite directions, sideways, forwards, towards us, away from
Right.
us.
But remember, the light that we're getting is so old, and it's reflecting from maybe a billion years ago.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, just I keep using Alpha and Proxima Centauri as a point. Okay, those are several light years away.
Right.
Light years.
Right.
Now, a while ago, I said it would take several months to get there from here or from there to here. It actually would take years at the speed of light. And then you'd have to figure in inertia.
Correct.
I calculated out one time it would take over 500 years to
Mhm.
make that trip. If you consider
That's-
inertia, the force of
Yeah.
gravity, the force of gravity that we have,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't seem to get away from that. I mean, we're
Yeah.
pretty much tied to the 1G, right? Or
Right.
any sort of normal limit, especially for any period of time.
Oh, we'll be pancaked. We'll be liquefied. I mean, first of all, mankind's body is not equipped to travel through space for that long period of time.
No.
Second of all, if you travel even close to the speed of light, your body's molecules are going to break down, and once you hit light, you literally are going to become one with light, so you're going to disappear altogether.
Actually, I don't believe that happens at all. I think that's all
Well, if
theoretical.
your ship is fixed for the travel, maybe not. But if we're just talking about the human body, if you travel at that speed, I mean, you're going to be bent so far into like the light that
Yeah,
your
well,
body won't make it won't
consider
make the trip.
this. Light itself is matter.
In a sense, yeah, yeah,
Well, in a real sense.
right,
It's energy, but it is matter. Because everything in our existence is a body of some kind, a solid or semi-solid body, and mostly it
Right.
takes the round shape, right? But
right.
light itself travels at the speed of light, right?
Well, that's right. It's called
It
light.
doesn't.
Yes.
It doesn't change. It doesn't cease to exist. It doesn't fly off and join some other club. It's
This
and
is
there
ludicrous speed.
there are objects that they have seen in space that travel phenomenal speeds.
Yeah,
Nothing affects them. I mean, they just, I don't think that thing about time and all that stuff. First of all, time doesn't exist. It just
agreed.
doesn't exist. There is no time travel. And it's like you think about your life and about when you were a kid and all this and stuff. There was no time involved. All it is a chemical process of aging. Things just change. There's no moving forward or backwards in time. There's just change, of particles.
Yeah, somebody tried to get philosophical with me about that and saying, well, time is not linear like we see it. There are people living a future life and people that are living a past life, and we're in a present life. And I'm like, that's just an idiotic way of thinking about it, because in the future they're still living in the present because it's the present to them.
Mhm.
Which, in other words, that be the future to us, which means that the future is not written and the past already passed, so you can't go back to it. So there's nobody living there now. It happened. You know, it's like that moment in Spaceballs, and they're like, "When will now be now?" And they're like, "Soon." Well, right now we're in the now. We're all living in a Spaceballs, Mike. That's what it is. But we're in now, and when you want to get to later, you got to wait for that.
Right now is right now. Wait, now, right now.
What happened to then? We missed it. When?
Yeah, you
Right
missed
now.
that was the past, man. That was like seconds ago.
When did this happen? Right now. Some of this had the best spoof ever made. Spaceballs. That's got to be like the funniest spoof.
Now.
Yeah. Instant videos of the movie made before the movie's even shot.
Yeah, when I really come down to when I think about it, I really am a skeptic. Really, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts.
You almost have to be, though, in today's world, because I mean, there's so much trickery in not only photography and video, but and even and I was talking about this earlier with men and women. I mean, unfortunately, you know that hot mic conversation with Trump and Billy Bush from years ago about grabbing the what. We're in a day and age where men actually have to do that just to confirm that they're talking to a woman, because we don't know anymore. You know, like who knows? Yeah. You might take this beautiful broad home from the club or church or somewhere. You get in the room and you're like, yeah. Next thing you know, she's twice the size that you are, and next thing you know, you start crying like a little. Oh, it hurts.
And her name or its name is Pat.
Yeah, and then the real voice comes out.
I'm not a homophobe at all, you know. Really
no, that's not homophobia. That's just reality. I mean, we're dealing in an age where the hormones that some of these transgender folks are taking are making it harder and harder to even access what's a woman anymore. So you literally almost have to play the Trump card and feel your way across. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Play the Trump card.
Yeah, well, that's a gentle way of saying it.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody got on my case about that yesterday. Yeah. They were like, I hate Trump because of this conversation. And I'm like, you realize that's how babies are made, right? Because at some point, your dad went and grabbed the Trump card. You know what I'm saying? That's how it happens. I hate to break it to you, and not trying to be sexist or anything, but that's just generally the rule. You got to go down and grab it. Oh, well, let's have some fun. That's just the way it works in the real world. But that's just the real world.
Yeah. Well, something. People don't believe this, but I've never cheated on a wife or a girlfriend in my life. I'm actually proud of that.
Yeah, I've never done it. Also,
I've had lots and lots of opportunities, but I don't know. I'm just sort of a moral person.
With that hair, I'm sure you've had more than I've had.
Yeah. Well, I've had several. I have several who've come on pretty strong. I don't know. I'm just turned off by that, actually. I got to be in love, and that comes pretty hard for me.
Yeah.
The last girlfriend that I had, she was 50 years younger than me.
Jesus.
And it didn't have much to do with her. And one day, I caught her smoking meth.
Wow.
I got pissed, and I kicked her ass out. She come back 2 different times saying, no, I'm different. I'm off meth. Yeah, well, right.
Yeah. And that's once you start down that path, it's not exactly something you kicked so easily. I mean, that's
yeah.
Knock on wood. I've never messed with that stuff, and being in Miami, we don't really have like a big movement of that kind of stuff down here. So it's not like something that's very available to begin with, but not that I would seek for it. But I've never had anybody even offer it down here, which is a good thing, and I'm blessed to say that I've gone my entire life without even knowing what that smells like at this point. So, is it's saying a lot because I know people get sick.
I've been around a lot in my life, but I won't do that stuff.
No.
A lot of people think I did, One of my
I bet
daughters.
it on the
Yeah, she's
75.
adamant for some reason.
I bet at 75. Everybody's like, "Oh, methods."
People just get something in their head and they won't let go.
Yeah.
And once they've like professed it, they're not going to go back.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So don't profess anything. You know? Yeah.
But yeah, don't even take a chance on something like that. I mean, stick to smoking your weed if you want to smoke your weed, drinking a little, beer here and there. You do something that is not going to completely destroy your life.
I have a beer every once in a while. I like half of one. That's about all I can drink anymore, half of one. It starts getting warm, and then I'm not interested anymore, you know. But
No,
I don't drink hard liquor of any kind. I haven't, and I don't. I've never smoked pot, although people have tried to say, "Oh, I got some really good stuff. Here's some Maui Wowie or whatever, Acapulco Gold, whatever." And so there's been a couple of times I actually tried. And I'm thinking, come on, guys, what's supposed to happen here? What am I supposed to feel, Well, you're supposed to be really good. Well, I have a sore throat. That isn't too good,
I have a slight headache.
Oh, you know what? I used to have migraines. As you brought that up, I used to have migraines up until 12 years ago. I was, again, there was a light and protection system, we were installing one. And my girlfriend left a digging bar, very heavy steel bar, step ladder there, it was 8-foot step ladder. And we were in a hurry because it started sprinkling, right, People always order these things in the middle of the monsoon season, right? Because they have to hear of a neighbor, somebody got hit and wiped out, everything, wiring got burned out, everything in the house was plugged in and got destroyed, They have to hear a horror story like that and then they get on the phone. Oh, I need a lightning rod, Well, anyway, we were in a hurry to get this thing done, and I yanked this rod out that dropped the spool of wire, and when I did that rod, that digging bar, came down and hit me on the back of the head. Oh man, wow. I saw stars. In fact, I took off running. I remember that, and then I laid down by a tree in a fetal position. It just all happened naturally, And anyway, make a long story short, a few days later, I noticed that I was bleeding all along the top of my head, kind of in a zig, like the skull there,
Mm-hmm.
And it eventually sort of healed up. Although now once in a while, I'll get a little bit of a bleed
spot.
In fact, I'll look at it and it'll be bubbling, believe it or not, like little air bubbles. Yeah.
I'm trying to see in the camera. I'm looking at it.
The thing about that is that I had never had a headache, a migraine, or anything since then.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You think it popped something in there that made pain?
Well, I think what it did is it released pressure, and I think that's what migraines are: brain pressure. Yeah.
That's really what it is. I mean, when there's too much pressure on the sac around the brain, you actually that's what starts triggering migraines.
I think, but I don't know.
Too much fluid and starts building up in that area.
I think I got a little smarter too, but I'm not sure.
It's funny. We're gonna have on our show here. We're gonna have a rapper, who's a friend of mine, the next few weeks, and we were joking about him being on because he goes by the name of the Realist. Also,
Realist. Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe I should have Mike and Javon on both at the same time and be like, the Realist versus the Realist.
The Realist and the Realist.
Awesome. Yeah.
The real and the realer.
Yeah, there you go. You spelled it a little bit different, but you spelled it Realist. Realist.
Yeah, you can spell that differently, couldn't you?
Yeah. He spells it slightly different, but a really cool dude. And I was, getting a crack out of, I was cracking up out of that because I was like, no, that's cool. I'm gonna be the only show who's had two guys that are called, the Realist on my show ever. And I think it was our buddy Daryl from Jern who was cracking up, and he was like, "Oh man, you should have him battle." And I'm like, "I don't know if I want to
Are you
do
talking
that."
about Daryl Neely?
Yeah, Daryl Neely.
Yeah. Yeah, I know him. He's a cool guy. He's a black
Yeah.
guy. He lives in Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and yes, he is. Even though right now, if you've seen his hair recently,
No.
he looks more Puerto Rican at this point.
Really?
Like the hair, yeah, he has the hair a little longer. He's kind of wolfing
He's
in.
He's a pretty good looking guy though, you know,
He's,
for a
he's
black guy.
pointed into the side.
Yeah. Well, I
He's
don't mean
looking like-
I don't
he's
mean to
looking
say
like
I
Usher.
said that wrong. I said that wrong. I said he's pretty good
I-
looking for a
no,
black
I'm like-
guy. I didn't mean that. I mean he's a black
no,
guy.
no, but
He's
the
pretty good looking. Okay.
The funny part is, like I said, he has his hair parted nice and stuff. And you're like, he's a pretty good looking guy.
Well.
Shout out to
when I was I don't know, when I was 5 or so, my aunts, okay, which I thought was my older sisters, believe it or not, because I was an only child for quite a while. Anyway, they had a lot of fun dressing me up like a girl. They'd put makeup and stuff. And I didn't know what the hell was going on, you know, so I went along with it, you know. And then they took me to a dance that they had somewhere in town. This was in Snowflake, right? And they took me to this dance. It's at this church, great big huge stone church still there. And I don't know. I guess I was about 8, I think. Anyway, this guy came over and asked me to dance.
Did you tell him, I do declare,
No.
but I'm just not a very good dancer.
I said,
I got 2 left feet.
my aunts get a big kick out of doing me up like this. This is not me. I'm not a girl, you know. The guy actually thought I was, you know.
Oh goodness. Maybe he didn't think you were, and he was turned on by what you really were.
Of course, you know, I wasn't exactly small, you know, but a girl is small, right? So he thought I was a girl. I mean, they did my hair and they had me in a dress the whole shot, you know. I didn't know.
See?
I just went along with it because, you know, I didn't know what else to do. They always got a big kick out of it. They would do that quite often, but that's only one time did they take me into town. You know?
This is why you have to play the trump card, because you never. Next thing you know, you're in bed with Mike Rogers, and you know, if you're a woman. That's
Well, I'm not that kind of a guy.
God bless you, man. You're a riot to talk to. I love having you on the show here. It's always fun to bring you on. You know, the books you're talking about, you know, finishing here. I'm really interested in the one of the Phoenix Lights in particular, because I've always, you know, wondered, you know.
Well, I might just finish that one because actually it's finished and it's fiction. And I've looked at. I thought, you know, that would probably make a movie actually.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on, you know, everything, but then there's one other. It's just a concept at this point. It's called Adventures with Close Encounters.
Oh, okay.
And I've already got the cover done. Of course, I've got the cover of all of the 3 things I've been working on: Natural Illusions,
Right.
Adventures with Close Encounters, and The First Event.
Now, Adventures with Close Encounters are these going to be based on real events? Or?
Yeah, absolutely real events, definitely.
Okay.
And a lot of those, of course, one of them is what happened to us in 1975. But see, 5 years prior to that, we had an incident that happened. Travis and I, and my brother Charles, and my sister Dana, and my sister Joy, and who else? Anyway, there were 6 of us in the car altogether, and I had a Dodge Charger. Okay, very new Dodge Charger at the time. Anyway, we're headed to Phoenix, and we saw this thing, you know, from Snowflake. And at first I thought it was a street light. Anyway, we get out there. And by the way, this particular thing has a number of witnesses. And one of the guys, his name is Rue Hunt, was a bus driver taking 8 football players, high school, back to Heber. Okay. And they saw it. And then we found 2 other guys that had seen it from a different angle, kind of from the other side. Okay, everybody had the same description. Okay, and I have I have a tape of Rue Hunt because he ended up at the first convention that Travis and I went to, which was down in Tonopah, Arizona. Buildings that were shaped deliberately like a UFO.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. That was in 1976. Anyway, Rue Hunt was there, and he was speaking, and I was very surprised by that. Anyway, it was recorded, and I have a copy of that. And he's dead now. He died in a car accident a long time ago, and his wife. And his son, Fred Hunt, was a very good friend of mine all the way through school, grade school and high school. But yeah, that's another real event. And then 2 years prior to that, something happened with my brother Charles and I. Okay, and we were cutting trees out in the woods, and we had this like a central location because we had to walk into this place, and we had our lunch and stuff there, and the gas and oil and everything for the saws, and we would come there, meet up there about the time we run out of gas. Was about the same, because we had the same type saws, and I felt this something up there, and I looked up, almost there, not quite right up, and there was this silver ball. At first, I thought it was like a weather balloon, okay, but it was silver. Weather balloons are white anyway. And then as we stood there and watched it, I noticed that the clouds are moving past it and above it, okay? So we laid down on a log, and our heads against the log, and sat there for like half an hour. And the clouds just kept going by. And at one point, a jetliner coming out of Phoenix or whatever flew real close to it, but not on it or anything, just very close to it, and went on by, and the clouds are still going by. In Arizona, they go towards the northeast because they come out of the southwest normally. And anyway, got tired of watching it because we needed to work. I mean, that's what we're there for. So we went back to work, but I couldn't keep my eyes off it. And within a few seconds, I just looked up, and this thing dropped, dropped like this, and then it just stopped, and then sped off like slow at first, and then just gone.
Disappeared. Yeah. That's very similar to one of the first ones I saw is very similar to that.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's been things after that.
Yeah.
One of them for me was in England.
Oh, wow. You saw one in England also?
An orb making a crop circle.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that one you haven't told me about. Please tell me about that.
Well, actually, I've been to England a number of times over the years. It started in 1993. I was there in 1993 to promote the movie with Travis, okay?
Right.
And we met Philip Mantle and Chris Evers and those guys. Philip Mantle was part of what you might call our entourage. He was somebody hired by Paramount. Paramount treated us like royalty. I mean, the amount of money they spent was actually kind of shocking to me, but went along with it, right? And anyway.
Why wouldn't you? And the budget of the movie wasn't that huge. Also, it's not like we're talking about $100 million production. I mean, what was the budget, like 20, 30 million?
I think it was more like 25 million.
Yeah,
at least, except for the advertising and all that stuff. Just the initial cost, and of course, add an all-star cast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially the guy who played you, Lucky.
Yeah, Robert Patrick, and in fact, I remained friends with him for a long time.
I know.
Kind of dwindled off. It kind of dwindled off after a while. He moved. He changed it. I kept sending him Christmas cards and stuff and notes. But at one point, what I was sending was being sent back. So he changed his address. Maybe that's because he was just getting too much mail and too much attention from too many people and couldn't live a normal life, which happens to a lot of those people I know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, with him, he's a big actor too. I mean.
Oh yeah, he's been in everything. And of course, I've got every movie he ever did, even the TV stuff, right?
X-Files.
Yeah, and he did a couple other things too.
Oh yeah, he's been. Robert Patrick is as
He's big.
legendary as the movie itself. Is a great actor.
And you know, when I had my show on KGRA, I tried to get him to come on my show, but he wouldn't answer my requests.
Oh, that would have been great if you guys would have been on with him.
Yeah,
that would have been really cool.
Yeah,
That's sad. You never made. Maybe we'll make that happen one day here.
I told Race Hobbs about that. He says, "Man, if you could get him, that'd be cool." But
yeah, that would
never
be.
did.
Yeah.
It never happened.
Well, unfortunately, we all have a lot of time on our hands since last year, and maybe he hasn't been too busy, and maybe so we could reach out and touch somebody that knows him, and maybe
Well,
I
in
can make it
today's
happen.
digital world, you can reach just about anybody.
Yeah, you just go on Instagram, you can book 20 guests. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, yeah.
You ever heard of not McEnany, but one of the girls who was working for Trump when he was president? One of the press people for that was very pro-Trump. I can't remember her name now, but her daughter was on Instagram, and she was talking about Trump. She was talking about her own mother, the whole 9 yards. And I caught wind of that. And I went to Instagram to see what the whole conversation was about. And Mike, I kid you not, there were pictures that she had put. She was like a 15, 16-year-old girl. And she was posting pictures of herself in a bikini and trying to look all like sexy and stuff. And I'm like, you're a little kid. And you're 15, you're a kid, you're on Instagram acting like you're a slut, and you're talking about your mother. I mean, let's get realistic here for a second. And Mike, the reason I bring that up is because 2 weeks later, her mom quit her job to spend full time with her daughter because she saw that her daughter was getting all this negative stuff on Instagram and on posts. And she's like, I got to take care of my family because I'm about to lose my daughter. Her daughter made the idiotic statement of saying that she wished AOC adopted her. And I'm like, talking about the blind leading the blind. Anybody wants that and they can poop to adopt them. I mean, lobotomy time, folks. Sometimes lobotomy is just the best way to go.
The best way to go. For who?
For the young 15-year-old girl who thought AOC was a good adoptive mother. And while we're at it, AOC, lobotomy time. Some people just deserve to be lobotomized. I don't know. Society is a scary place, man. It really is. Listen, I'm almost out of time. We've been here for a little bit longer, and bless you for being here with me. I love having you on. But I know that you want to have a nice evening, get the rest of your night together, maybe have dinner and comb that hair a little bit more and make me envious.
To go to dinner, but I don't know if we will. Just late. What time is it? Well, it's 9:27 here.
Yeah,
Arizona time, which is also Pacific time.
Yeah, lucky. It's almost 1 in the morning here.
Yeah, well.
Now, when you have the books, man, I'm dying to read any of the books you finish or put out.
Well,
you definitely need to get more active on that because I mean, you've put out a lot of stuff. You've seen a lot of your graphics and a lot of the stuff that you've painted. It's fabulous. But the inner mind, man, the working of Mike Rogers, especially on sci-fi stuff, being a sci-fi nerd, I want to see what you can come up with like actual events like the Phoenix Lights and give it your own spin. That's beautiful. I want to see that. And the other book, the adventures,
the first event, the Phoenix Lights fiction, is that something you'd be more interested in?
Oh, because I'm a nerd and I love that kind of stuff. I love science fiction and what people can do with reality, and then have a fictionalized story but based on a real event. I love stuff like that. That always gets me going.
This would be more like a history fictional novel or whatever you call that. Because I have so much. I mean, it would be based exactly on the facts,
Right.
Except for the fictional part, right?
Yeah. It's all based on fact.
And
Except
it
for the
is
fake
history.
ones.
It is history. It is
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And I did actually witness the Phoenix Lights from a hilltop near Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah.
And
What did you base it on your experience of watching the Phoenix Lights?
well, the story would be blended with my own experience and the reality, and then of course fiction.
Gotcha.
And it's already written.
Well,
But, I just
yeah, well,
never.
go back.
It was actually written as a real story at first, but nobody wanted it. I mean, nobody even showed any interest. Maybe it's fiction. They will.
I don't know. I would have been, me. I like realism, so I would have been interested in
Well,
seeing what
it would definitely be realistic. All right.
Yeah.
And I'll change. I'll be the main character, but I'll change. It won't be my name.
There you go. You know what we need from you though, Mike? We need you to do something in the zombie genre.
Zombie genre.
Aliens that are zombies.
No, that's not for me.
You're awesome, man.
Adventures with Close Encounters.
Yeah,
The first
I know you
event,
got that one too.
and
Which one?
natural
You're
illusion.
balancing out. Which one do you think is going to come out first if you do finish it? You
The
balance
one
it.
I've been offered money for, although they forgot it, they wouldn't talk to me anymore, was Natural Illusions.
Right.
Adventures with Close Encounters is just a concept, but first event is written. All I would need to do is just polish it a little bit, maybe change a few things. That's it.
I'm telling you, that's gold right there, man. That's one you're gonna hit right in the head because it's a relevant event. That the Phoenix Lights are still fresh in people's minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some I think you definitely have a good shot of making that happen. I do love the adventures and Close Encounters. I think that's really a fabulous idea also. And of course, the other book about your actual work as an illustrator. I mean, that also is an amazing, I'm sure, book that
So all three
this.
are nearly illustrated, actually.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I've done an awful lot of illustrating that I have not shown at all, and of course I don't want to do that until it's copyrighted. Okay.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't understand how good you are though at illustrations. It's funny because some people are just born with a gift. Like my friend Doug Jones, he's a great actor. I mean, he's in Star Trek Discovery. He's in a bunch of stuff now. But he was a mime for a long time. He did mime, work on the streets. That's how he started doing, entertainment. And he wrote a book about how to be a mime. And I looked at him and I said, Doug, if there's ever a person who was born on Earth to be a mime, you would be that person.
Yeah.
And he started cracking up, and he was like, "I know, that's why I did it for 10 years because I was like so good at it. It came naturally." And it's the same thing with you in art. I mean, the artwork that I've seen is beautiful, man. It's some phenomenal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
some people are born with a gift, my friend.
Yeah. My son was born with a gift for music.
Yeah.
Heston, he plays guitar. In fact, some of the stuff he does. I don't even want to say
it. From what you've told me, it's almost like a miraculous gift.
Oh man! And the trouble of it is, he doesn't even think he's good.
I know. Well, some of the best are like that. I mean, Charlie Chaplin, who was the top comedian of his time, thought Cantinflas was a funnier comedian who spoke Spanish. And true story. And I'm like, Charlie Chaplin is like, without you, movies would not have gotten made. You realize that, right? Like, Hollywood was not an entity which was even viable until Charlie Chaplin came along, and then really was the major part of how the industry got shaped. And you're saying somebody else is funnier, and he was like, yeah, he just is.
Yeah. Well,
truth is truth. It is what it is.
Well,
I'm gonna let you go. I know that it's getting late over there, and I want to make sure you're able to have some time with your family as well,
Yeah.
and say hi to your son. And by the way, shout outs to your daughter in that picture you posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
Congrats, man, on having great kids. I mean, not everybody can say that. You
Yeah.
have a great set of
Well, I, all my kids are good looking. Okay, I don't know how that happened. Uh, anyway, just I guess good combination, right? uh, and they're all basically, two of my daughters are college graduates, Katie and Nicole. And my sons are both geniuses. My son Mikey, I used to call him. When he was 4 years old, he could work the Rubik's Cube. I'd mess it up all for him.
Yeah.
4 years old. Then he went in the
Wow.
Air Force. He spent 6 years in the Air Force, and he took care of atomic bombs on jets and stuff like
Wow.
that.
Did he ever get that question in the Air Force? So you're the son of Mike Rogers. How was that?
I don't know. He's in Florida. In fact, the last time I saw him was 2015.
Oh wow.
No, it isn't even that far. I mean, it's further back than that. I haven't seen him for 15 years. Put it that way.
Oh wow. Wow.
He's been married once. He was married once, and that picture's on my page too.
Yep.
But the girl he's living with now, her name is Veronica, and I have never seen her face. I've never seen a picture of her, so I don't know, And I do talk to him every once in a while, but he's kind of like in his own world over there. But I'll tell you, he is. In fact, he's what you'd call a perpetual college student.
Oh wow.
He went into college right after he got out of the Air Force, and he's been going to college ever since.
He doesn't want to ever leave, huh?
That's like 16, 17 years ago.
Wow. What's he studying now?
He studies mathematics, philosophy. I mean, he studies all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Well, I've gone to college here and there. I've done at least a semester in every university in Arizona.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But I've never graduated from any college because they don't believe in credentials. What a person's worth is what they show, what they say, what they do, their accomplishments.
Right.
This stuff. Well, I'm a doctor, so you got to believe what I say, right?
Yeah.
Like Lynn Katay, that's her thing. I'm a doctor, so the Phoenix Lights was aliens, absolutely. Well, I
remember even Bill Cosby was called a doctor at one point.
Oh yeah, he was doing an honorary degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
An honorary degree. Well,
those doctors. Joe Biden's another doctor. Oh. Dr. Pepper.
Did you see him falling down the stairs in the jet? The Air Force.
Oh no, he was falling up the stairs, which is even funnier.
Falling up the stairs. Yeah, he rolls down the stairs. He falls down the bottom and just laid there like he was dead for a while. And all of a sudden he jumps up.
Well, that was a CGI'd one, but the real one when he's falling. I mean, how do you fall upstairs? Like I've heard the concept. I slipped and I fell backwards and I fell down, but this man actually managed to fall upstairs.
Well, maybe they had it turned upside down or something. I don't know.
Well, it goes with the narrative of all the executive orders. Like he did everything in reverse than Trump. Trump would have fallen down. Biden falls up. I don't know. That's just the way it was.
Well, who was it? A Trump that fell off the stage that one time?
No, what it was slippery. He had just given a 2-hour speech, and it had been raining, and he was coming down a ramp, and there was something to hold on to. And there was a soldier, and he's like, "Listen, I just did a 2-hour speech. I'm tired, and it's very slippery, and my shoes are, slippery. I don't want to fall." which that's the last thing you want to do if you're Trump, right? Fall on national TV on your ass. Just think about how much CNN would replay that over and over again if that would happen. So literally, like all he did was the soldier was walking next to him, and for the first couple steps, you see Trump kind of like holding on to him a little bit, just so he doesn't slip, and then he just continues down the ramp normally. But the media went on that like, oh my God, he is getting so old he can't even walk down a ramp. Something's wrong with him. He's like, there's some sickness going on, and I'm like, are you serious? And then you see Biden falling upstairs, and CNN is like, "Oh yeah, he's fine. Nothing's going on here. It's just some wind blew him over."
Yeah, well, when I fell down my stairs the other day, I didn't fall on my ass. It was actually the stairs are made of concrete, right, with rebar, and the rain gutter had been dripping on these for quite a long time, and so this next to the last step in the stairs was gone. I mean, it was still there, but it was like broken and gone, basically gone. And
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, it was the next to the last step. So in other words, there was like 2 steps before you get down to ground level, and they're pretty
Right.
tall. They're like 8 or 9 inches steps. Okay, so I went to step there as I was looking out because I was looking east, right? And I just fell. I mean, I just fell, and I fell on my right side, and my hip still hurts. In fact, the whole right side of my body still hurts. And did something to my back. I hit my head.
Yeah.
And I had nosebleeds after that for quite a long time, but everything's better now except for having a lot of trouble walking, Yeah.
No, I feel you. Believe me, I understand that. You just got to take care of yourself, man. I want to make sure the next time we speak, you're feeling better. So take it
I'm
easy,
saying I'm
man.
fine. I mean, pain don't hurt, okay? It really does, especially when you don't think about it.
Pain don't hurt. Okay.
Yeah, pain don't hurt. I mean, I learned that from Roadhouse, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I knew that already. It's mental, right? It's mental. You can control it.
Yeah. Well, but we all know how that ended up with Patrick Swayze.
Well, he
Ended up
died,
becoming
right?
a ghost. Yeah, he went from playing a ghost to being a ghost.
Yeah. Well,
Sad story. Great actor too, by the
I
way.
don't even know what happened to him. I think it had something to do with AIDS,
No, cancer. Cancer got him.
cancer. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was pancreatic cancer.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was very
suspect
sad.
he was homosexual, though, so.
No. Patrick Swayze. No, he was actually he was married, had kids, the whole 9 yards. His wife was with him to the very end, and yeah, he got pancreatic cancer, and he was actually on a really good show at the time, and he had done the first season or 2, if I remember right, and it was renewed. It was in the top 5 of the most watched TV shows at the time. And it was doing really good. And of course, when he passed, he was the lead on the show. So they stopped production on it after he passed. But I mean, his story was really sad because they kind of got him like from one year to the next. And next thing you know, like you saw the obvious change in his body and the way he looked. And then you heard the story that he's gone. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that was quick. Like. My mother got 3 years, and she ended up living an extra 2. She did 5 years after she got diagnosed. Patrick Swayze was like 2 years later, done, gone. And man, sad story.
Well, I've had tests done on me twice. Once when I was in the hospital, and one on my doctor, which was 6 days later. And I mean, I told them to do everything, the standard piss test, the
Right.
blood work, the whole shot, and they say that everything's fine except for the parts that are affected.
Right.
As far as I have no trace of cancer.
That's great.
No problems. Nothing.
God bless you, man.
Except for, and of course I've always had that problem of part of my balance isn't there. That happened 15 years ago, but
Yeah.
and of course they don't have headaches anymore. And my girlfriend left me, so I'm really happy. Okay. What? Two girlfriends. Yeah. That's mother. I joke about that because she comes over here almost every day. But she comes here to see Heston.
You got to stylize that hair a little bit and start working the fields again, bro. It's like, you got to get yourself a new girl.
Yeah, well, I've kind of, well, I won't say I've had it with women, but I've kind of gone the ropes,
Yeah.
It's going to have to be somebody really special. I mean, I don't think they could put up with me.
As they said in the movie Coming to America, what you need to do is work the church.
Yeah, well.
Gotta get yourself a good old girl at the church there, son. That's what you gotta do.
Well, I don't go to church anymore.
You should start. Just
and I don't go to the bars. I do go to the stores, Walmart, Safeway, other stores.
Yeah, you want to pick
girls look at me, but I don't think they're looking. If I end up in a wheelchair, I don't think they're looking at me anymore.
Mike, imagine that pickup line. So, what are you doing over here? Shopping?
Yeah. What do you think of this cabbage? What about these? Let me smell these cantaloupes. No, not those. These cantaloupes.
Excuse me, girl. You look lovely. Did you see the aisle where the flip-flops are on? I want to buy some flip-flop shoes. And can you walk with me so we get to know each other?
Yeah. Yeah, well. The old standard pickup line, right?
Yeah, well, there you go. The new one, just dealing with Walmart now. Picking up girls. And
I'll tell you what, those Walmart greeters are like, I forget. I won't say anything.
They have they stand there, they're like, welcome to Walmart.
Yeah. Get your shit and get out, right?
They want $15 an hour for that, I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, I've run your pastime here, so we probably ought to call it a night or whatever.
Yeah, you're the man, though, man.
The thing of it is, I could sit here for another 2 or 3 hours. I could, But I know,
Like, I'd love to sit here and talk it. So, literally, another 4 hours could pass, but we don't want to do that. I want you to go and take care of yourself and eat something. Get the elements you need in your body to stay healthy, and we'll do this again soon because you are the man.
Okay. All right, Angel, my angel.
You are my brother, and I love you so much, man. You're the best.
Well, you are too. And you were on my show. We had a good time.
Every time you're on my show, we have a great time. And the one time I was on your show, we had a time. That was awesome.
Oh, I've thought about having another radio show, but I'm so much into these books and the stuff, writing, illustrating. I hardly even have the time to go on my page anymore. I check in there 10 minutes a day,
Well, my house is your house. Whenever you need to get on air, just spew. You just let me know, and you have a home.
Spew.
You like the cue, my friend. Just let it all out.
Depends on what I ate.
Well, we don't need that.
All right. Okay. Well,
take care, my friend.
You bet.
Guys, we're going to close out with that, and that is the legendary, the iconic, the very well-groomed Mike Heston Rogers, who we love here on PSN Radio and PSN TV. And until next time, I'm going to tell everybody to check this man out, check his work out. When his books are ready, buy them. And as soon as they're out, I will have them linked directly on my page, angellespino.com. So you, the watchers, you, the listeners, can go there and get them easier if you're listening to me, because I will be pushing that stuff hard like a BM. I'm going to be pushing it for you.
All right.
Take care, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.
Not, buddy.